Dear students, good morning to everybody. I have started the lesson Digestion and Absorption, under which we were talking about nutritional and digestive disorders in the last class. I want to continue the same one, that is the digestive disorders. We completed under this heading number 1, colitis, number 2, protein, energy, what is called the malnutrition, number 3, indigestion. Now we have to proceed the fourth one, constipation. What is constipation? So it is nothing but actually the retention of the fecal matter in the rectum. So it is a condition in which the feces or the fecal matter and the fecal materials, that means undigested waste, are retained in the rectum, not being eliminated. This is because of this is because of not regular, this is because of irregular bowel movement. Irregular bowel movement. The reason for that one. What is bowel movement? This is nothing but the elimination of undigested waste or the elimination of roughage. So when the waste is not eliminated from the body, it results in constipation. What's the main cause? This is because of not taking, that is what we have, that is proper roughages or fibers in the diet. So poor intake of fibers in the diet. Poor intake of fibers in the diet, that is one of the reasons. Another reason for that one, we have, that is what we have, not taking physical activities. That is absence of physical activities, lack of physical activities. So constipation, the retention of waste materials or the fecal matter in the rectum. What is the main cause? Irregular bowel movement. Nothing but elimination of waste. It is not taking place properly every day. It is because of not taking, or you can say poor intake of what we have, the fibers in the diet. Another reason, that is what we have, absence or lack of physical activities. So two reasons given in the book. This is constipation. Now let's go to the next one, vomiting. Vomiting. The next disorder, vomiting. Now it is nothing but antiperistalsis. Antiperistalsis. That is otherwise called reverse peristalsis. Now the peristalsis normally occurs or proceeding from what we have actually the pharynx towards the stomach. If it occurs in the opposite direction, then it is called antiperistalsis. Otherwise called regurgitation. So in this one, what is happening? The harmful food substances and also other contaminated substances from the stomach are ejected out. What we have through the mouth. So the harmful substances and then contaminated food materials are ejected through the mouth. That is called vomiting. It's also called regurgitation. Now, vomiting is the reflex activity taking place involuntarily. You cannot decide. It is an involuntary activity. This condition is normally controlled by a vomit center. The vomit center is located in medulla oblongata. So the medulla oblongata is nothing but a part of the hindbrain, you know that one, concerned with reflex activities like coughing, vomiting, sneezing, okay, even the breathing, swallowing, all are reflex activities or involuntary activities. The center for controlling what's called vomiting is located in medulla oblongata, that is nothing but the hindbrain. So that is a vomit center. And before vomiting, normally the vomiting is preceded by what we call nausea. So, a feeling of what is called nausea precedes before vomiting. What is nausea? A feeling of sickness in the stomach with an urge to vomit. A sense of vomiting, not actually vomiting, a sense of vomiting. After that, only the process of vomiting occurs. So, vomiting is otherwise called antiperistalsis. The harmful substances and other contaminated food materials are ejected through the mouth. This condition is called vomiting. Now, this condition is controlled by a vomit center located in the medulla oblongata. So, this is a reflex activity, involuntary activity. And a feeling of nausea precedes what is called vomiting. Before vomiting, the person feels nausea. It is nothing but a feeling of sickness in the stomach with an urge to vomit. That's about what we call constipation and vomiting. In jaundice, the liver is affected. Once it is affected, the defective liver fails to break down the hemoglobin and it removes bile pigments. Now, liver is a place where the dead RBCs or the aged RBCs are destroyed and hemoglobin is released and the breakdown of hemoglobin occurs, which results in the formation of what we have the bile pigments. These are all the breakdown products of hemoglobin. Once the liver is affected, it fails to break down hemoglobin to form the bile pigments and also to remove the bile pigments from the liver. These are the two reasons why we have the jaundice develop. When the bile pigments are not removed, they get deposited, particularly what we have bilirubin pigments. They get deposited in certain parts of the body, particularly the eye region and also the skin. So the eye and skin color changes yellow because the pigments normally just actually red pigments or we can say the orange pigments. So it gives what is called yellow color to the eye, the white of the eye and also the skin. So this is because of the deposition of the pigments which are not being removed as the liver is affected. In some cases, jaundice is also caused by hepatitis B virus. So the inflammation of the liver is called hepatitis. It results in jaundice. So hepatitis B virus is also responsible for, it's a virus, the formation of jaundice. So mostly we have the liver is affected because of some reasons. It's also caused because of what we have hepatitis, a disorder caused by virus. So hepatitis viral infection also responsible for jaundice. Now the next digestive disorder is liver cirrhosis, also called by name dissected or scarred liver. That is because of what is called a disease. Scarred liver means some scar tissues. Scar tissues means dead cells. Now a chronic liver disease is responsible for the development of liver cirrhosis. Chronic means it cannot be cured till death. Chronic liver disease because of various reasons. A chronic liver disease normally causes the degeneration and destruction of liver cells. Degeneration and destruction of what we call the liver cells. As a result, the development of abnormal blood vessels and bile duct take place. The development of abnormal blood vessels and bile ducts take place, which ultimately leads to the formation of what is called fibrosis. What is fibrosis? It is nothing but actually replacement of glandular cells by fibrous connective tissue. So the liver glandular cells, the one which is secrete bile, are being replaced by what we have fibrous connective tissue, and that condition is called fibrosis. So the liver is unable to secrete bile because the cells which is secrete bile are being replaced by what is called the fibrous connective tissue. That condition is called fibrosis. What are the causes for that one? It may be because of infection which affects the liver or because of poison consumption. Any material, any poison, any alcohol, any drug, any medicine, all being normally broken only in the liver. So the breakdown of all these materials, what I mentioned, including alcohol, take place only in the liver. When a person consumes actually poison, that will affect first the liver only, then only other organs of the body. So it results in disease because of poison consumption. Malnutrition. When the diet contains improper nutrients, for example, some concentration of what we call the cholesterol, that results in what we call malnutrition. Then alcoholism. The main cause for this one is alcoholism. When a person is consuming alcohol more and more, what will happen? The liver cells, what are called hepatocytes, are replaced by fibrous tissue. And as a result, the liver gets enlarged. That condition is called fatty liver syndrome, otherwise called liver cirrhosis, fatty liver syndrome. This is because of the accumulation of the fibrous tissues or because of what is called fibrosis. And what will happen? The glandular cells, the hepatocytes, the liver cells are being replaced by fibrous connective tissue. That is one of the reasons for liver cirrhosis, alcoholism. Okay, that's about liver cirrhosis. Now let's go for the next one, the gallstones. Now the bile is a fluid secreted by the liver, which contains the bile salts, bile pigments, cholesterol, and also some what is called sodium hydroxide, sodium bicarbonate, etc. If there is any alteration in the composition of the bile, that results in the formation of stones in the gallbladder to begin with. Okay, any alteration in the composition of bile results in the formation of gallstones in the gallbladder. Now the gallstones are mostly formed of crystallized cholesterol. Crystallized cholesterol. The cholesterol along with the calcium and the fat together form not a sandy stone but a hard stone formed of mainly cholesterol. The formation of gallstones normally causes the obstruction of cystic duct coming from the what is called the gallbladder, hepatic duct coming from the liver, and the hepatopancreatic duct, the one which is formed by the joining of the bile duct as well as the pancreatic duct. So because of the obstruction of the bile duct, hepatopancreatic duct, what will happen? The person feels pain. Then pancreatitis. Pancreatitis means, I mentioned already, any word ending with the PIS is referring to the inflammation of that organ. So pancreatitis means the inflammation of the pancreas. Then also jaundice. One of the reasons for the development of jaundice is also the formation of gallstones. Okay, it's not a sandy stone but formed of cholesterol plus what we have calcium along with other minerals. Together form a stone which blocks the passage as well as accumulated in the liver too. That's about the gallstones. The next disorder is appendicitis. You know the vermiform appendix, a vestigial organ connected to the cecum. A vestigial organ, a functionless organ. Sometimes there is a chance of entering of the food particles into the appendix. That results in inflammation of the appendix. The inflammation of the vermiform appendix is called appendicitis. This is because of the lacking of what we call actually the fibrous food. Particularly it is more common in the case of people who are always taking what's called junk food without fibrous food. The fibrous food referring to the presence of cellulosic materials, the plant materials. So the inflammation of the vermiform appendix is called appendicitis because of change in diet, lacking what's called the fibers in the diet, and that results in severe abdominal pain. Severe abdominal pain. Results in severe abdominal pain. We have also mild fever. What is the treatment? The only treatment for appendicitis is removal of appendix by surgery. Suppose if the treatment is delayed, what is the consequence? If the treatment is delayed, what will happen? The appendix ruptures and the intestinal contents are released into the abdominal cavity, leading to the infection of the abdominal cavity. The infection of the abdominal cavity is called what is known as peritonitis, because the lining of the abdominal cavity is called peritoneum, nothing but the coelomic epithelium. The coelomic epithelium is otherwise called peritoneum, lining the inner wall of the body cavity. So, because of the delay in treatment, the rupture of the appendix occurs, leading to the infection of what is the abdominal cavity, the lining of the abdominal cavity, and that condition is called peritonitis. inflammation of the peritoneum. Inflammation of peritoneum. I mentioned already the word, any word ending with the TIS. So this is the inflammation of the peritoneum, the lining of the body cavity. Okay, that's about appendicitis. The next disorder is diarrhea. It is the most common gastrointestinal disorder around the world. Sometimes it may be caused because of viral infection or bacterial infection of food or water. That's the main reason. Now the colon is a major place in the large intestine concerned with the absorption of water. If colon is infected, now it is a major place of what we have actually the absorption of liquid food or water. When colon is infected, the lining of the intestine gets damaged by the pathogens. So the colon is unable to absorb liquid food or fluid. As a result, what happened? We have the elimination of fecal matter with more water. That is called liquidity. We have more water content. So we have, instead of normal bowel movement, we have abnormal frequent bowel movement. So what is diarrhea? I am writing here in the form of what is called the red letters. Abnormal frequency of bowel movement. Abnormal frequency, instead of having only once a day the bowel movement, the person is reaching the toilet frequently. That is called abnormal frequency of bowel movement. As water is not absorbed, along with the feces, water is also eliminated. And increased liquidity of fecal discharge. More and more liquid or water is eliminated along with the fecal matter. That's why we have increased liquidity. It is being sent out in the form of watery fluid. Just like a rice water stool. One of the symptoms, rice water stool. Stool means actually the worst material. The technical word used for that one, stool. Test for stool means you have to test the medical term, clinical term for what is called the fecal matter. So, abnormal frequency of bowel movement. That is one. Number two, an increased liquidity of fecal matter. Fecal matter is eliminated with more water. Now, if the treatment is not being taken, then what will happen? More water is lost, and that process is called dehydration. So, loss of electrolytes, loss of water occurs in the body that results in dehydration. What is the treatment? The treatment is called oral rehydration therapy. Oral rehydration therapy. So once water is lost by means of dehydration process, we have to rehydrate the body by taking what is called more amount of what is called water or drinking more water. So sipping of a small amount of water at a time to rehydrate the body. So frequent taking of plenty of water. Frequent taking of plenty of water to rehydrate the body. And that process is called oral rehydration therapy. There is nothing but taking plenty of water through mouth. That process is called oral rehydration therapy. Along with some what we have, the electrolytes which are lost because of diarrhea. So that's about the diarrhea. This is the definition. Abnormal frequency of bowel movement and increased liquidity of fecal discharge is called what is known as diarrhea. Okay, this is about diarrhea. Next one we have to go for peptic ulcer. Now the next digestive disorder is peptic ulcer. Normally the inner wall of the stomach or any part of the intestine lined with mucus layer, a glycoprotein. Now this one protects the wall of the stomach against what we have, the strong acidic nature of hydrochloric acid. It is acting as a mechanical buffer too. Sometimes what will happen, a small injury that is in the mucus layer that causes the entry of hydrochloric acid and causes the erosion of what is called the mucus layer. The mucus layer being eroded. If the stomach is empty for a long time, increased concentration of hydrochloric acid occurs, which causes the erosion of a particular part of what is called the mucus layer of the stomach or duodenum. So, the eroded area of tissue lining, that is nothing but the mucus, what I represented here, of stomach and duodenum is called peptic ulcer. Okay, the eroded area of tissue lining, nothing but the mucus of stomach and duodenum is called peptic ulcer. There are two types of peptic ulcer. If it occurs in the duodenum, then it's called duodenal ulcer. If it occurs in the stomach, then it's called gastric ulcer. The duodenal ulcer is common in the case of young people between the age group of 25 to 45. Between the age group of 25 to 45. Whereas the gastric ulcer is common in the case of aged people above the age of 20 years. Above the age of 50 years. Okay, so duodenal ulcer occurs in the duodenum and gastric ulcer occurs in the stomach. Is more common in the case of people or persons above 50 years of age. Duodenal ulcer is common in persons above or between 25 to 45 years of age. Now what are the causes? One of the major causes because of infection by a bacterium, what is called Helicobacter pylori or pylori. So this is number one reason. An infection by a specific bacterium, Helicobacter pylori. Now this bacterium responsible for causing peptic ulcer was first observed by two persons. Number one, Barry Marshall, and number two, Robin Barron. So simply we can say Marshall and Barron reported that is the Helicobacter pylori, the bacterium responsible for causing what is called the peptic ulcer. For that they were awarded Nobel Prize in the year 2005. So Barry Marshall and Robin Barron. Then, what are the other causes? Some people are always consuming just what's called the aspirin tablet whenever they have a headache, whenever they have a body pain. So, when they are taking increased consumption of aspirin or anti-inflammatory, what we have the drugs or the tablets. Say an example of Brufen that is used against what is called the pain, body pain. So increased consumption of what we have aspirin or anti-inflammatory drugs, they also cause ulcers, stimulate the secretion of more and more hydrochloric acid. Along with, we have also some substances like alcohol, smoking, the caffeine, a substance found in coffee powder, and also some psychological stress. All are only the stimulants. They stimulate the secretion of hydrochloric acid. It is normal. When the stomach is empty, if you are taking all these materials, they will stimulate the hydrochloric acid. Increase in concentration causes the erosion of the tissue lining, particularly the mucous layer, and then the layers of the stomach or duodenum. That results in what we call peptic ulcer. So what is peptic ulcer? What are the types of peptic ulcer? What are the causes of peptic ulcer? Maybe asked separately in 2 marks or 3 marks questions. Remember? So the Helicobacter pylori or pylori, the bacterium was reported by Barry Marshall and Robin Barron. In 2005, for that they were awarded Nobel Prize. Now the next disorder is obesity. It is nothing but the excess of storage of fat in the body, particularly the body fat, in adipose tissue. A tissue which is storing the fat present below the skin is called adipose tissue. So now with the fat being stored in adipose tissue, the one which is present below the skin, when its storage exceeds the normal level, we have the fattiness occurs, and that is called obesity. So excess of storage of body fat in adipose tissue. What are the effects when a person is obese? So it induces atherosclerotic heart disease. Atherosclerosis means hardening of blood vessels, which increases the BP, ultimately heart disorders. So it induces atherosclerotic heart disease, hypertension and diabetes mellitus. These are all actually the effects because of obesity. What are the main causes? Because of genetic factors. When the parents are obese, ultimately the children will also be obese. Then endocrine factors. When the hormone STH secretion increases, the somatotrophic hormone from the angiopituitary increases, then what will happen? Digestion occurs in the case of children. That is the endocrine factors. Metabolic factors. When the rate of metabolism is higher, leading to the storage of more what is called materials, as in the case of anabolism, storage of protein which gets converted into fat and being stored. So the metabolic factors because of metabolism. Then excessive intake of food, always just actually eating the junk food, whatever just a person just receives, and that also one of the reasons. So 4 reasons: genetic factors, endocrine factors, metabolic factors, and excessive intake of food. How can we say that person is obese? So the obesity is assessed by one method, what's called body mass index. Now the average BMI range in adult is between 19 to 25. If the person is having an average of 19 to 25, that is a unit, the BMI, the person is not obese. Then what is BMI? How can you calculate it? So we need 2 units. One is the weight of the body, another one the height of the body. So weight and height are the 2 units we need for calculating the BMI. So I represent the form of a formula. What is BMI? How it can be calculated? For calculating BMI, we need 2 values. One is the weight of the body, another one the height of the body. Now BMI is equal to weight of the body in kilograms divided by the square of the body height in meters. Square of the body height in meters. Suppose we are taking the body weight 50 kilograms and the height 160 centimeter. Then BMI is equal to 50 divided by 1.6. What is called the square meter? That's equal to 19.5. It is in the normal range. So we have to take what is called the weight as well as, for example, that is the height. So when a person is above, that is 25, that is the unit BMI, then he is said to be obese. Okay, that's about how to calculate what we have, the obesity. Now the last digestive disorder is hiatus hernia, otherwise called diaphragmatic hernia. It is a structural abnormality in which the superior part of the stomach slightly protrudes above, projects above what's called the diaphragm. I will show the picture later now. Slightly above the diaphragm. The exact cause of what is called hiatus hernia is not known. But in some people, because of injury or damage, may weaken the muscle tissue. By applying too much of pressure repeatedly on the muscles around the stomach. They are just exerting the pressure on the muscles around the stomach while coughing or vomiting or straining for bowel movement, exerting pressure for bowel movement, or even lifting heavy weight. These are all the main causes it's known, but the exact cause is not known. Many causes. Now this type of hernia also results in heartburn. We already studied what's called GERD, heartburn. What's the reason for that one? The stomach contents travel back to the esophagus, sometimes even to the mouth also. Okay, that causes a pain in the center of the chest because of the eroding nature of the acidity of the food. Eroding nature of the acidity of the food means the hydrochloric acid present in the food while the food is traveling back to the esophagus and to the mouth. It causes burning sensation. The heartburn means it doesn't cause actually burning sensation to the heart. Only the tissues around what we have the heart, particularly the esophagus region, feels a pain, so that the person feels a chest pain in the center of what is called the chest. A pain in the center. This is chest pain is different. Here a pain in the center of the chest. This is because of the eroding nature of the acidity. Okay, that's about what we hiatus hernia. And just draw the diagram, a simple diagram. You have to follow it. Now this is the diagram showing hiatus hernia or diaphragmatic hernia. You see now this is the stomach and this is the diaphragm. Here the superior part of the stomach is protruding above the diaphragm and that is called the hernia. And this is the one esophagus. Okay, that's about the simple diagram showing the hiatus hernia. Now there is one question in the book. Do you feel ill after drinking milk or after eating what's called dairy products? What's the reason? Sometimes we cannot digest the sugar, lactose present in the milk. What is the reason? Sometimes Some people cannot digest the lactose sugar, the disaccharide. This is called what is known as lactose intolerance. What is the reason why you are unable to digest the milk and milk products? This is because of either the absence of the enzyme lactase or present in small quantities. You see the reasons I mentioned, either absent or present in small quantities, or if they are present in inactive form. When the lactase enzyme from intestine, this is the lactase enzyme from the intestine lactase, when absent or when in inactive stage or present in small quantities, they cannot digest lactose sugar in the milk. Now the lactose remains in the gut or in the stomach without being digested. As a result, what will happen? The bacteria present in the stomach causes the breakdown of lactose, releasing some unwanted materials. So it releases gas, bloating of the stomach, just what's called belly-like bloating, the bloating of the stomach, then stomach cramps, the pains, and also what we have sometimes diarrhea. That's the reason why actually some people feel ill after drinking milk or dairy products. This is because of the absence of lactase enzyme and the breakdown of lactose that in the stomach by bacteria, leading to the symptoms what I mentioned about it, the gas, the bloating of the stomach cramps, and also what we have diarrhea. So that's about what we have, the different genetics are different, what we have, the disorders related to the digestive system, and some questions. And one more question I want to tell you only. Suppose we have studied already digestion in the stomach, digestion in the small intestine, digestion in the buccal cavity. They are asking repeatedly digestion of proteins. If the question is being asked digestion of proteins, what answer you have to give? I will give only just 2 or 3 lines only. What are the things to be added, because I already completed. We have to sort out, we have to edit and then collect the answer and write it for digestion of proteins. Here there is a question related to the protein digestion, very often asked question in the public examination. So what happens to the protein molecules in food from the time it is swallowed to the time its products are built up in the cytoplasm of a muscle cell? This question is related to the digestion of proteins. We already completed the digestion of proteins, carbohydrates, fats, etc. in different places. You have to edit only the enzymes which are involved in protein digestion. The enzymes which are involved in protein digestion are called proteolytic enzymes. Now, in the alimentary canal, digestion of proteins normally occurs in 2 places. One is stomach, another one intestine. What are the contents to be added? That is about the digestion of proteins in the stomach. You have to write down the role of pepsin and role of renin, not any other things. Only I am writing the headings, you have to collect the answer what I already taught. So role of pepsin, role of renin only. Then we have the next one, that is actually the digestion of proteins in the intestine. Digestion of proteins in the intestine. These are all the 2 places I mentioned already. So we have to take the digestion of proteins in the intestine. What are the things to be added? Number 1, role of pancreatic juice. What are the proteolytic enzymes present in the pancreatic juice? You have to take and add the answer. 1, trypsin, role of chymotrypsin, and then carboxypeptidase. So that's about the role of pancreatic juice. You have to write it 1 or 2 lines for each one. What is the role of trypsin? What is the role of chymotrypsin, etc. The second one, role of intestinal juice. In the intestinal juice, only one enzyme is present. What we have, the peptidases. What is the role of peptidase? Only one equation. Peptidase is acting on di and tripeptides, releasing amino acids. In the equation you can find in the book. So don't write simply as I am writing here. You have to collect the answer. These are all the things to be added when the question arises like that. Digestion of proteins. So with that I concluded the lesson digestion and absorption. You have to go through the book back questions, one-word answers, etc. I'll give the assignment also, do it properly. And we have to go to the next lesson, what is called actually the breathing process. Okay, breathing mechanism, etc. That is a respiratory system. Respiratory system, we have to go back to the next lesson. Okay, thank you. Goodbye.